Hi, everybody. Um, my name is Maila Gerald, and this is my speech to inform. I just want you to imagine a 80-year-old widow on a fixed income in the midst of her grief. She's forced to pay $363,000 in estate taxes because in Section 3 of the Defense Marriage Act, allowed states not to recognize same sex marriages. Now, can you imagine? I know that being a Christian and um, same sex marriages being considered an abomination, but these are regular people. I mean, their relationships are pretty much the same as ours. Now, imagine your significant other. Say they're in the hospital and the doctor won't release any information about them. They won't allow you to see them, be by their bedside, by just to see if if they're okay. This was just an example of something that the gays and lesbians of our community go through. I have a few friends that we found out were gay in high school that I'm still friends with. They were affected by this law. I mean, I was there for them when they were going through this, and I tried to be supportive as as much as I could. The Defense of Marriage Act affected the homosexual community in greater ways that we could even understand. Today, I'll explain more about the Defense of Marriage Act and how it made a negative impact on the homosexual community. Um, Now, I just want to begin by explaining what the Defense of Marriage Act is. In order to understand what the community went through, you'd have to know a little bit more about what the Defense of Marriage Act is. Um, the United States federal law defined marriage for union or for federal purposes as a union of one man and one woman. And that's how we know it in the Bible is one man and one woman. But the biggest issue about the law was that the Section 3 in the Defense Marriage Act allowed states to refuse to recognize the same sex marriages. Granted, under these laws of other states, so even if you were legally married and it was recognized in the state that you were married, other states weren't under any legal obligation to recognize your marriage. Now that you know the Defense of Marriage Act is and who it affects, I'll tell you now how Section 3 affected the homosexual community. Section 3 of the Defense Marriage Act made such a negative impact on that community in ways that, because all states did not have to recognize the same sex marriages, it affected families that were in the military. Spouses of soldiers would not receive certain benefits. Um, Widows of same sex marriages, they were denied the Social Security spousal survival benefits. Like the story I told you in the beginning about visitation, they wouldn't allow these spouses to see their spouse because they just wasn't recognized as, their marriage wasn't recognized in that state. Healthcare benefits, financial aid, they were denied these benefits. Now, I've informed you on the topic of the Defense of Marriage Act and how it affected the homosexual community. After presenting this information to you, I hope that you have more of an understanding of how same-sex marriages were affected. As a Christian, knowing this information, not agreeing with it, doesn't mean we shouldn't care or be aware of our fellow brothers and sisters and how they were affected. I urge you as a Christian not to judge your neighbor, but to show the same love that Jesus Christ has showed us. My name is Maila Gerald. This was my speech to inform on the Defense of Marriage Act. Thank you. Elma over here eyeing me.